the American dream. To his last breath, he'll always be a soldier.
Heard on great radio stations all across America. It's the National Defense with Randy Miller and Jerry Newberry.
The National Defense is made possible by Ford. Go further. By the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. By VSP. For more information on how VSP can help you in your corrective vision needs, visit VSP.com. By the Wounded Warrior Project. Serving those who've sacrificed for over 15 years. Online at woundedwarriorproject.org. By Gillette On Demand. Get Gillette quality blades delivered directly to your door with Gillette On Demand. Learn more at GilletteOnDemand.com. By Morgan Stanley. Discover how they can help you achieve your long-term financial goals at morganstanley.com. By Farmers Insurance. We know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two. Find an agent at farmers.com. By Gorilla Glue, makers of Gorilla Tape for the toughest jobs on planet Earth. And by Gillette Clear Gel Antiperspirant. It goes on clear and keeps you fresh all day, and it doesn't leave white marks on your shirt.
This is the National Defense. Randy Miller along with Jerry Newberry. As always, our dedication.
Hey, this show's for you, the men and women serving on active duty in the Guard and Reserves. It's for the millions of veterans out there, and it's for all their families. We're here for you. We love you. God bless you.
This is a cool story. We've brought you several players from the NFL, and we've heard their backgrounds, and some of them have obviously transitioned out of the military and took some of those skills and now are in the NFL. And the story today is about an organization called MVP, Merging Vets and Players. And we've got one of the founders of that organization on the program, Nate Boyer, is with us. Nate, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Good. So you were born in Oak Ridge, Tennessee?
That's right.
That's why you're so smart then. I was born just up the road in Knoxville.
Oh, you were?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, my dad was going to veterinary school at University of Tennessee, and my mom was working at Oak Ridge National Lab.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, she's an environmental engineer. So they were out there, and that's when I was born, or where I was born, and we moved away when I was like 2, so didn't really get to enjoy it, but I have been back a couple times.
That's a beautiful area.
Over the years.
Yeah,
I love it.
It's beautiful. Well, I mean, you've been a little busy since you since you moved away. You're a Green Beret. Tell us a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, I didn't join right after 9/11, but 9/11 definitely got me kind of thinking about it, and I ended up going over to the Darfur, region in Sudan, along the border of Sudan and Chad, and did some relief work over there in 2004. And it was really that time then that inspired me to join the military. It was the work with the people. You're working with indigenous forces, much like you end up doing in the Army Special Forces.
Sure.
And it was just it was a hard time for those. Well, it still is a hard time for those people. It was in the midst of this genocide. They'd lost 300,000 people had been killed already, and they just didn't have anybody fighting for them. And I went over there and worked with several different NGOs, and I definitely got a lot out of it and enjoyed it and learned a lot. But I felt like I wanted to do more and essentially, fight for those people in some way. And my last week in country over there, I got malaria, and I was in this bed, had this local Chadian family taking care of me, and I was a mess. And they put this little radio next to my bed, next to the cot they put me on, so I could listen to something. And the only station I got was the BBC, so I was listening to the Second Battle of Fallujah, and it was actually the Marines who were the main effort in that. And they were over there risking their lives, many of them losing their lives,
sure.
For the people of Iraq, and it just it inspired me to want to do something more, to potentially want to join the military. And I came back home to the States and found out about the Green Berets, the Army Special Forces, and their motto was "De oppresso libere," which means to free the oppressed, and that really inspired me in itself. And then I studied a lot about what they do, and there was a big part of there's a humanitarian side of that work. Just this idea of working with indigenous forces, working alongside, training, living with, and fighting alongside host nationals was something that really appealed to me. And so that's why I took that path.
Plus, you get to be a tough guy.
Yeah, you do get to be a tough guy. I mean, Green Berets are played by John Wayne and
exactly right, absolutely. So, well,
and Navy SEALs are played by Charlie Sheen, but whatever. No big deal. No big deal.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. To each his own. But then you, I guess you've always played football. You played football for Texas.
Yeah, I did. I didn't always play though. My first time ever playing was after my time on active duty, and I went back to college, or went to college for the first time at age 29, and tried out for the football team. It was something I'd never done, but always regretted not doing because it was my favorite sport to watch growing up. And I just, I never did it. I had opportunities to in high school, and just was, too afraid that I'd started too late and everybody else would have a jump on me. So I didn't play, and it just tore me up. And then eventually, I wait till I'm 29 and, figure at this point it's kind of now or never. And I had the experience in the Army, that gave me that kind of confidence. And so I just kind of went for it at that time, and it ended up working out.
So we're talking to Nate Boyer here on the National Defense. So, Nate, what do the coaches say? You show up and you're 29 years old and you say, I want to play football.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't know that I hadn't played before, so that helped. I kind of kept that secret.
Sure.
Didn't want to make that public information yet. They asked me about my background, and I told them I was in the military and kind of just kept it, a little bit open there. And I was in good shape. They could tell that. And, I think in their mind, I would never probably get off the scout team. I would kind of just be a rah-rah guy in the locker room maybe, and, help the guys practice and prepare for games on Saturday every week. And that's what I did my freshman year. I redshirted, kind of learned the game a little bit. Yeah. And, was just basically a tackling dummy for my first year there. But stuck with it, and then I found long snapping my second year. It was a niche position that is a thankless job, and I was used to those from our time. And anybody that served in the military knows all about thankless jobs. Right. So I had no issue with that, and but it was an opportunity to play, and to help the team and be on the field, and obviously I had to win the job, but I sort of put all my eggs in that basket and just started focusing on trying to win the long snapping position my sophomore year, and it ended up working out. I had an opportunity, and I started for 3 years, and then had an opportunity in Seattle with the Seahawks because of it.
Yeah. Not only did you play all during college, but then you get picked up by the Seattle Seahawks at long snapping. And I got a good buddy of mine here in Kansas City that was a long snapper for the Chiefs, Kendall Gammon, for a long time.
Right.
And yeah, it is a thankless job, but it's also an essential job. Right. And most teams only carry one long snapper. So the long snapper,
all of them. Yeah, I don't think any carry more than one.
Yeah,
they all.
Sometimes they have a backup that has done it in the past or whatever. But man, that's a key position. But
right, usually it's like a tight end or a defensive end that maybe did it in high school or something.
Yeah, right.
To back up, but they only have one dedicated position for the long snapper.
Man, this is such an interesting story because all the pieces are kind of coming together in my mind now about how you started this organization and I've often said that when we've had players on before, especially players that had been in the military, there's so many similarities to all of that, right? The camaraderie, the mission, the resourcefulness, all of that, right?
Yeah, the locker room. That's the best way of putting it. I mean, it's just this idea of playing or serving or whatever. Yeah. For the man on your left and right, and the most successful teams are the ones that have that mindset, that are able to
I want to have you back on, but I want to have people go to the website, vetsandplayers.org, and check this out. Is that the best way to find out information about MVP?
Yeah. Yep, vetsandplayers.org. You can go online, and if you just Google merging vets and players, there's videos that come up. We've done stuff with NFL Network and with Fox Sports, and lots of stuff like that. And there's a lot we got going on. We have chapters in Los Angeles, Las Vegas, Chicago, and Atlanta now.
Wow.
We're hoping to expand, to at least every NFL city beyond that one day. But, for only being 3 years old, we're growing very fast. And it's just sort of a natural fit. And the group loves it.
I'll bet.
We get guys and girls, athletes, veterans. They come in the gym every week. We train together. And then we talk about our stuff, and it
That's
can be
cool.
good stuff, and it's just an open discussion. Everything stays on the mat. But it's all about just being honest and vulnerable, and just helping each other through our struggles.
I love it, man. It's just a great idea. It's just a natural thing to do. And if you go to vetsandplayers.org, you can check it all out. Hey, Nate, thank you for your service, and thank you for what you're doing for veterans and for players. This is great.
I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me on National Defense.
We'll be right back with the National Defense right after this word from Farmers Insurance. When you're dealing with life's ups and downs, it helps to know the ins and outs of insurance. Farmers Insurance has been sharing practical insurance knowledge for more than 89 years. At Farmers, we know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two. Find an agent at farmers.com.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
Welcome back to the National Defense. It's Randy Miller, and time for another Morgan Stanley Money Brief. And here with us this week is Peter Perez, Senior Vice President and Wealth Advisor for Morgan Stanley. Peter, how are you?
Hey, what's happening?
Listen, in this series on financial literacy that we talked about last week, we discussed budgeting, saving, investing. There are a number of our listeners who borrow money or use credit. Now, can we talk a little bit about the concept of credit ratings? It drives me crazy.
Sure. Well, let's get more basic than that. First, the word credit comes from the Latin word credo, which means belief.
I am learning so much. And so what does belief have to do with credit?
Oh, man, credit has everything to do with faith.
How so?
Well, let's think in the simplest of terms. If you give me credit by lending me money, you've got to have a belief that I will not only pay you back what you lent me, but you also have to have an expectation to be paid back something extra for allowing me to use your money. And this extra amount is called interest.
Okay, so unlike my friends, what you're saying is that in order for me to lend you money, I need to believe you will pay me back.
Bingo.
Yeah.
So how would you determine whether or not to have faith in me?
Well, if I know you well as being trustworthy, I have faith in you. And if I lend you money because I know you're good for it.
Exactly. And I know you have a lot of faith in me. But, what if you don't know me?
Yeah.
How would you know if I'm a risk and wouldn't pay you back?
Well, I'd probably ask around, ask your friends, assuming you have some.
Exactly. Hey, watch it there about my not having any friends.
Right.
But seriously, you would ask my friends or others who have lent me money about my past behavior in paying people back. And since you don't know me and said I have no friends to vouch for me, there are companies that keep track of my past behaviors with credit and borrowing. And they score my ability and willingness to pay you back. And these companies would stand in as my friends in this instance.
So with friends like that, who needs enemies, huh?
Roger, you got it. And 3 companies each establish a score on my credit history. Again, my past and likely future ability to pay back what I've borrowed. This score is called a FICO score.
Okay. I've heard about the FICO scores. Tell me more about those.
Well, the company that originally did credit scoring was the Fair Isaac Company, later shortened to FICO.
Huh. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so the FICO scores range between 300 and 850, with 850s being a perfect credit score. In other words, all of your friends will vouch that you are good to go to lend me money, and I always pay it back.
Okay, so why is your FICO score important?
Well, your FICO score is important because it determines if you can get credit, right? And how much credit you can get, and then, of course, how much it will cost you in interest to borrow. So, as we'll discuss next time, the better your FICO score is, the more you can borrow and the more cheaply you can borrow it.
Well, I want to find out more about this. I look forward to talking to you about this more next week, Pete.
Yeah, me too. And again, thanks for the privilege of sharing this with our troops.
Hey, Pete Perez is with us, and he'll be back next week with a brand new money brief from Morgan Stanley right here on the National Defense.
This radio program does not provide individually tailored advice. It has been prepared without regard to the individual financial circumstances and objectives of persons who receive it. The strategies discussed may not be suitable for all individuals. Morgan Stanley recommends that individuals independently evaluate particular strategies and encourage them to seek the advice of a financial advisor. The appropriateness of a particular strategy will depend on individual circumstances and objectives. Morgan Stanley Smith Barney, LLC, member SIPC.
Hey, welcome back into the National Defense. It's Randy Miller, and not often do we have a chance to have a 3-star general on a program, but today is that lucky day, and General Michael Ferriter is with us. General, how are you?
Randy, I'm doing great, and life is good.
This is something that a monumental effort that's happening in Columbus, Ohio. And before we get into all of that, the National Veterans Memorial and Museum, can we talk a little bit about your career for a few minutes?
Absolutely. Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, so give us kind of the rundown, because if I don't know, we only have an hour-long program, and I can't run down all the awards.
Well, if there's ever an award, the credit goes to the young soldiers and young officers that often carry all of us on their shoulders, and then we get the credit. So there are a lot of people that carried me on their shoulders over the years.
Graduated from the Citadel?
Yeah, I graduated from the Citadel in Charleston, South Carolina in 1979. Then was commissioned as an infantry lieutenant, and so over the course of my career, I served in every type of infantry unit. So I went to Fort Riley, Kansas, out near you with the Big Red One and the mechanized infantry.
The Big Red One, right?
And then I went up to Alaska, and I was parachute infantry, Arctic paratroopers with jumps north of the Arctic Circle, and sharing the goodness and the hardship with the paratroopers at 40 below zero for a number of years.
Wow.
And then down to the Ranger battalions, part of our Special Operation Forces, where I commanded a Bravo Company, 2nd Ranger Battalion, and then moved after a couple years to the 9th Infantry Division, which was a motorized and mechanized, a precursor to what Strykers are today. And then with some college there at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, returned to the Ranger regiments at Fort Benning, where once again was with just the most amazing, bright, energetic, and patriotic soldiers. During that time, deployed to Mogadishu, Somalia. We've all seen Black Hawk Down. Sure. I brought the 2nd Force forward, I like to always say. So we arrived on the 4th of October and joined our colleagues over there, but nevertheless was there. And then I was selected to command a parachute battalion at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, the 2nd Battalion, 504th, and then selected to command another Ranger battalion, 3rd Ranger Battalion, the same one that went to Mogadishu. And then cross-decked over into the training command, where we had all the officers and airborne school and captains and NCOs of infantry, and OCS, where my dad went to officer candidate school, where you can be a private someday and then an officer. And very proud of that part of our military service that give everyone a chance to be the best they can. And then through no fault of my own, was selected to general officer. We just found that if you keep taking care of people, they'll take care of business, and so they identified that as success. And then I, again, was in the parachute division, the 82nd Airborne Division. Deployed for a little while to Iraq, and then over the next couple of years, deployed about 3 years to Iraq. And then became the 3-star general in Iraq for all the advising and training, and helped shut down from 99 bases to 10 bases, and then also then ran all the Army bases around the world here as the Installation Management Command, commanding the general. So essentially 75 cities we ran in 17 time zones with about 100,000 employees and a $12 billion a year budget.
Well,
and I just say in 2 years, we transformed almost everything we did, and we saved $2.5 billion for the American people. And then we retired in June of 2014 and decided we'd find a way to help veterans and other people. And that's the second part of this story.
Yeah, and well, first of all, I mean, what a storied career, and thank you so much for your service and everything that you've done for those that you commanded for sure. And Jerry Newberry is going to be so sad he's not here, because he could certainly relate to the parachute situation. He's a former Screaming Eagle.
Yeah,
and it would have been easy, General, for you to, after that kind of a career, to sit down for a while. But that doesn't seem to be in your DNA. And so now you're the president and CEO of the new National Veterans Memorial and Museum in Columbus, Ohio. And what a position that is. First of all, how did you get involved with that?
Well, when I got involved, based on the idea that, my father was a private, and then he made officer, and he retired as a colonel, but he always said to us, you can only be a leader if you have, men to lead or troops to lead, and you can only be a good one if you take care of them. And so that kind of characterized our approach to, be hard on the mission, but never on the people, as I grew up and developed. And then when we retired, Margie and I went to Washington, but it wasn't Washington, D.C. It was Washington State, and that was on purpose. And stood up the Ferriter Group, a leadership company. And because in that last job, we had, running all the bases really means you had all the transitioning to veterans, soldiers to veterans.
Sure.
You had wounded warriors that we were responsible for housing and caring for, along with the Surgeon General. We had the responsibility for the families of the fallen. And just kind of that combination of, my mom and dad saying, hey, you've got to take care of the little guy. And then the jobs, the first ones you heard about, I never left infantry battalions. So I'm one of the rare guys that was always with the troops. So once again, that kind of made an endearment to them. And then you run the programs to specifically take care of the troops, child development centers, after school activities, all the fitness centers. We had 55 golf courses that I thought I should inspect myself.
Well, you know what? That's very noble of you.
Yeah. It's hard. But then the point was, we got out, we started this company, and we started helping transitioning veterans. It wasn't long before we discovered that there are transitioned veterans. Our veteranpreneurs are out there making a huge difference in America. But not all of them can get in the door when they need. So having a 3-star who would walk with them for interviews and stuff was very helpful for them.
Sure.
and also for everyone that finally got to meet them. And I think just the word on the street was, if you need help, then the Ferriters will help you. And then the word on the street was, as the National Veterans Memorial Museum was nearly fully completed, and the question is, who would be suited to lead it as the founding president and CEO? The kind of word on the street cred got to somebody, and I was at Fort Benning, Georgia, Columbus, Georgia, on the 11th of May, and the phone rang, and someone said, would you be interested in the National Veterans Memorial and Museum? I said, of course, where is it? They said, Columbus. I said, great, I'm in Columbus, Georgia. And they said, no, Columbus, Ohio. and so we came and interviewed. You can see when you walk up to the place, it's iconic architecture. You can feel as you go into it how it tells the stories of our veterans, their journeys, through firsthand accounts of highly selected veterans. And then you can know that there's much more we can do to touch the lives of across the country, and so that's what this is, a project to tell the story, but more importantly, to be a rallying point for veterans and to central part of the United States, and then to go coast to coast and north to south with, online tours, virtual tours, online video booths, and a zillion ideas that I'm more than happy to describe to your listeners. But that's the way it happened. Someone just knew that this was a passion and that I could get things done, and we combined the two of those.
Well, and we've talked to a lot of different groups on the show about, struggling through PTSD and TBI and those kind of things, and nothing does more than being with another veteran. And
home run. You got that right.
We're getting that right. What's the best way for people to find out more about the museum?
Well, our website is nationalvmm.org, or just Google National Veterans Memorial Museum. There's been over 700 articles, all kinds of TV and videos, and then even on that website, there's a info at such and such. So if they have a question, just tell them, hey, reach to us.
Well, and you get the virtual tours on there and all kinds of stuff.
Yep.
And the other thing that I know you guys you want to do with the museum and with the memorial is to attract some of the VSOs to hold their conventions there. And we are partnered with 17 of the best, and I'm going to make sure that they know that invitation is out there.
Yeah, please do. And you know that every organization has a life cycle, and so here we show up and say it's all about us, and everyone should change their plans. And we really don't see it that way. We know that we're a startup in our first year, but we also know we're not a hostile takeover, and so we're happy to share space with others who have existing or ongoing programs. We open our doors to all kinds of VSOs already in here. The first Saturday of every month we do what we call Rally Point, and so we already have more than 100 veterans, roughly 100 veterans who come, and they get to, again, connect, network. And in some cases, we'll see in here someone say, I'm new to town. Someone will say, well, where do you work? I don't have a job. Okay, how about see me after, or where are you sleeping?
Wow.
I'm in my car. Not anymore, brother. So this is just, these are the kind of opportunities to get people together. And we'll just grow and grow. And, we're doing work with the underserved kids to create a program for youth ambassadors and bring them in. So, again, that fits the sweet spot of educate. But we're doing it in, I think, a unique way that isn't a mandatory organized field trip, but rather to the groups that may never get here. And so we'll reach out and grab them and pull them in and make a difference there.
That's great. I mean, I want to do the show from there. I want to come there and do the radio show.
Well, you're welcome. Let's bring that show here.
Absolutely. General Michael Ferriter, thank you so much. Good luck with the National Veterans Memorial and Museum. I know this. I know they got the right guy running it. So thank you so much.
Well, thanks. It's a great town. If you're looking for spring break activity, come now.
Oh yeah.
If you're looking for summer activity, come now. There's a 3-day nonstop exhaust mom, have fun for the kids, or it's 3 days of inspiration between the Columbus Zoo, myself, and Coastside next door, the Arts Museum, and a wonderful town with a super vibe. So tell everyone to come and see us, and we're looking forward to it.
Wow, General, thank you so much for the time, and best of luck to you.
Okay, Randy, I look forward to meeting you.
That'd be great. We'll be right back with the National Defense right after this word from Farmers Insurance. When you're dealing with life's ups and downs, it helps to know the ins and outs of insurance. Farmers Insurance has been sharing practical insurance knowledge for more than 89 years. At Farmers, we know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two. Find an agent at farmers.com.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
Welcome back to the National Defense. It's Randy Miller, and time now for a brand new segment of Eye Insights with VSP Vision Care, Dr. Robert Meisel. And now we get to talk about something that I think you've mentioned in every segment is genetics and your vision, right?
Yes, there are some problems that are certainly genetically linked. Certainly retinitis pigmentosa, certain color deficiencies, even some of the vision problems that are nearsighted, farsighted, astigmatism, and congenital blindness in babies are linked to the genetic problem.
Well, and you've talked about age-related macular degeneration, and I guess that's also a genetically or can be a genetically inherited condition.
Right. It's there's a risk factor of genetics and lifestyle, certainly, but there is a genetic factor in there. But the macular degeneration, if there's a parent or a sibling who has it, certainly it's the risk is higher, just like in glaucoma. So again, a regular eye exam is the best way to make sure that you're keeping on top of things.
Well, Dr. Meisel, if you have an inherited eye disease, do you just have it, or can it be corrected if an early diagnosis is made?
Well, it depends on the particular problem. Certainly, if it's there, it's going to be there. But routinely, we recommend that eye exams for any babies at risk, certainly parents who have problems, should be done even before their first birthday.
Oh, wow.
People think, well, gosh, you can't do much on a baby, but there are a lot of things that can be done and evaluated to make sure that there is or is not a problem. So if you're in doubt, certainly the best thing to do is have an exam for the baby. And in fact, there are programs out there for low cost or no cost. Like an infant C program, certainly that a lot of doctors participate in.
That's a great idea. Well, so while you can't control your genetics, are there things you can do to promote good eyesight? So how do people just keep their eyes healthy?
Well, like Mom said, everything in moderation.
Yeah.
Eating properly, exercising, getting a good night's sleep, hydrating, go a long ways towards maintaining good eye health. Certain things that you eat certainly are good, like we talked about on an earlier show about green leafy vegetables, fruits, make your plate a rainbow of colors. Eating salmon or fatty fish like tuna and sardines can also help your eyes stay hydrated. As far as dry eyes, which is a growing problem as well with the environment changing.
It's all good stuff, and it's all things you need to know, but you also need to see that VSP doctor and get in there and get that eye exam. Hey, Dr. Meisel, VSP Vision Care has a lot of exciting things for our particular audience. Can you talk about what you guys are doing? We
are a vision carrier participating in the Federal Dental and Vision Insurance Program, known as FedVIP. For those military families and retirees that enrolled in November, they now have access starting January 1st of this year to comprehensive vision coverage through FedVIP. If you missed the open season and are a newly eligible TRICARE member or are retiring at any point this year, you can review VSP plan options at choosevsp.com. And when you're ready to learn how to enroll, go to BENEFEDS.com to learn about enrollment options.
We will be back here with a brand new segment of Eye Insights with VSP Vision Care right here on the National Defense.
This has been the National Defense, made possible by Gillette Clear Gel Deodorant. It goes on clear and keeps you fresh all day, and it doesn't leave white marks on your shirt. By Ford, go further. By the Home Depot, more saving, more doing. By VSP, by Morgan Stanley. By the Wounded Warrior Project, by Gillette On Demand, by Farmers Insurance, and by Gorilla Glue, makers of Gorilla Tape.